Welcome back to the FanSpeak Network and another episode of the NFL Betting Card. No, we don't have live NFL to bet, but the 2024 offseason is starting. So Spread is joining me. Hopefully, Jamie and Tyler will be joining us shortly as well. And we are going to kick off the NFL offseason. I told the guys I'm bitter about the Super Bowl. I hate dynasties, so I'm so annoyed that the Chiefs won. They have a horseshoe up their ass, and it just is so annoying to me. My props didn't, some of my props did, but some of my props didn't get there because they made perfect sense, like Deebo getting 11 targets and then not getting there, and I'm annoyed about that. I'm just absolutely depressed. The NFL season is over. And so to me, the NFL offseason officially begins right now. And we are going to talk everything that we can to just start getting our minds ready for the things that then we will talk betting card stuff with, because talking through coaching changes and free agency moves and NFL draft will eventually help us do stuff in the betting world, like making futures bets. Of course, best ball, which will have a ton of content on this channel, and then, prepare us to have success for the next season. So, it never stops. Just like the NFL players, you take it, you smell the roses a little bit, Spread, but you got to stay in the streets and make sure you're prepared, right? So how are you doing? And I will ask you now, I'm a bitter about the Super Bowl, but how did you enjoy the Super Bowl?
First of all, it was a great game.
Yeah. Well, there wasn't much scoring in the first half.
I don't care about scoring.
I know you don't care about scoring, but everybody's worshiping the Chiefs and the offense. That defense won them that Super Bowl. They scored a field goal. They scored 2 field goals in their first 9 drives. It was not I didn't think I was witnessing this greatness. I think, and I think there was just a lot of breaks that they got their way, like the muffed, kickoff or punt or whatever. Obviously Greenlaw getting injured from 49ers. So there was all that stuff that just kind of drove me crazy, since I was obviously bet and rooting for the 49ers, had bet McCaffrey MVP. So anyways, I was bitter about that, but yeah, the ending was great, but I didn't think during the game. You thought that during the game was exciting and great?
Yes. I have no problem with no scoring.
I know.
This is how I grew up. 17-13 is normal to me.
I know. I'm not much behind you as far as age. So I hear you, but I know I didn't need I bet the under. The under still hit with overtime. I was actually rooting for the under, obviously, but I just it just felt bumpy. I guess. But this is what we said. This is why I like the under, is the top to the number 2 and number 3 scoring defense, all year long. So it wasn't that surprising. And, for as much that crap that people give Purdy, which I think is, all the debates get a little out of control this time of year. He had, you can go through it all and say where you stand on it. But he had a beautiful ball to Deebo Samuel that was knocked down by McDuffie. That was in one-on-one coverage, was beautiful, and McDuffie couldn't have played it more perfectly. That Kansas City defense is elite, and the 49ers defense played really well too. So yeah, like you said, it was 2 good defenses going at it, so we shouldn't have been surprised.
Yeah, the other thing is, had a little bit of an NBA feel, where it felt like we were playing a different game than we watched all year.
Mm-hmm.
During the season, right? And I like this way better. But during the season, it feels like these cornerbacks can't even get close to these wide receivers. Yeah. Right? Without getting a foul.
Yeah. They let them play for sure.
The Super Bowl gets here, and these guys are holding on every play. Mm-hmm. And don't even get me started on the offensive linemen, too. So I guess it went both ways. And there were so many plays where players on both sides of the field were getting held. So I thought that was interesting. I think that Shanahan is getting unfairly ripped.
Mm-hmm.
Is it his fault that Dre Greenlaw hurt himself? Is it his fault that they blew that punt?
No.
The game could have gone either way. It was a virtual coin flip, and it just happened to go Kansas City's way. So a lot of, and especially up here, being surrounded by Niners fans, I feel like a lot of the dissatisfaction with that team. It comes down to only one team can win, and that was one of the closest Super Bowls I've ever seen.
Yeah. Was the second Super Bowl to go to overtime, right? Because the only other Super Bowl was the big 28-3, comeback.
Yeah.
Against Shanahan. So
Yeah, and I for one was happy that Nickelodeon did a broadcast because I enjoyed that very much.
You watched the Nickelodeon
The whole
broadcast?
game
Did you really?
got kind of annoying towards the end, but
Were you with like kids? Or were you there
no,
just
I'm by myself.
you decided for the Nickelodeon broadcast? Are you not a Tony Romo fan? Like, what was the decision there, process there?
I just saw it on, and then I'm like, this is so much fun, and like, I don't know, it just made it more fun.
That's very childlike, whimsical. I love it. I love it, Spread. That's great, and I'm glad that
Yeah.
you enjoyed it. I was at a Super Bowl party with friends, but it wasn't like a ton of people. But you do still get distracted, so it's like I don't know that I, embrace. Even I had to even go back on YouTube and watch some of my favorite commercials. Favorite commercial, Ben Affleck's Dunkin' Donuts commercial by far
Good.
was
Yeah,
that was really
that was a good
that
one.
was really funny with Brady. Okay, so any other thoughts that you want to get out for the Super Bowl? I let my venting out basically, but yeah, oh, by the way, there was a Warren Sharp had been putting out articles all week leading up to it, and that officiating crew is known to be one of the like let them play officiating crews. So that's why I liked so many like prop overs, but still like the game under. And I anti-correlated some of those and parlay. Okay, I bet them individually, but then I anti-correlated them, and I was so close on a couple, and that's what drove me crazy because I was like, I was so right on the under. They did let them play. It's just some of the things made sense, like Debo gained a bunch of targets or McCaffrey gained a bunch of carries, but it just didn't get all the way home on some of the props. So that was frustrating. Any other thoughts for you?
Just leave Kyle Shanahan alone.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you. I get sick of these debates, and all to your point, like these kind of debates that come off these sliding door moments, right? So like, again, if the Greenlaw thing doesn't happen, if McDuffie doesn't make that amazing bat down and that touchdown does go to Debo and really puts them up by, I don't know how much that would have put them up at that point. If that muff punt doesn't happen, if one or two of those things don't happen, 49ers win, right? And so none of this has happened. You're hearing the beautiful, like full circle moment of the McCaffreys and the Shanahans and they coached together or coached and played together. And then now they're coaching and playing together. And then of course the son and father, the first father-son to win the Super Bowls, both, it would have been all these magical things. And the stars finally aligned for the 49ers. It would have been nice to see McCaffrey get there, lay off Purdy, lay off Shanahan. And it's just these sliding door moments happen, breaks the Chiefs' way, and now Shanahan's just getting absolutely attacked. And I've heard both sides of the argument on the whole overtime thing. I don't know. Do I think the whole team probably should have been better aware of that? Yeah, but I just think the rip he's getting isn't fair either. I 100% agree, and it's just so frustrating because, like, let's think of the other sliding door moments. So say it goes the other way. Say a couple of those things don't happen. 49ers win easily. What are the storylines this week? Kelsey is an elderly abuser because he's ripping his coach's arm off, but now he's beloved, and everybody's just
the team was distracted, right?
Yeah.
Mahomes couldn't do it without the weapons.
Mahomes couldn't do it without the weapons. Rice was yelling at Mahomes on sideline. Is there some fracture in this dynasty to be when they didn't get there, and there seems tension on the sidelines, and all there would have been all that story. It's like, it's ridiculous because it's like, it was a close game, it was a coin flick, it was a good game, and it's just because it goes one way or another, then the stories just get massively overblown one way. I was like just mind blown at how much Kelsey did lose it at Andy Reid. I understand intense passion, the game, that kind of stuff, but it was a bad look. The optics weren't good on, obviously, be caught live on live TV with like the most eyeballs ever watching. But anyways, but right, like you said, they won, so nobody cares, and they're just focused on ripping Kyle Shanahan. So I agree with you. Okay, so off season starts now. We're going to talk about coaching changes, free agency moves, but you and I have to kick it off with a debate, Spread. So, and the debate is, one of the biggest free agencies, whether you like him or not, is Kirk Cousins. He's obviously, like, I think the only big QB free agent, because obviously Justin Fields will be traded.
Baker.
Yes. Excuse me, Baker. I think it's likely that Baker will go back to the Bucs. But yes, but yeah, he's and of course Kirk Cousins could go back to the Vikings. They could re-sign him, but If Baker is re-signed, we have, where does Cousins end up? Is it back with Minnesota, or does another team sign him? Then it's, of course, the Justin Fields. Who trades for Justin Fields? Those two dominoes to fall are going to be massive, because then the implications of which teams get those will then obviously change things for the Vikings, obviously, potentially. And then obviously shore up the teams won't be in the market, obviously, in the draft, who do obtain those guys in free agency or via trade with Fields. So the big takeaway, or the big debate that you and I have been having, is I'm a rookie QB. I don't want to say hater, but doubter would be the word I'd use. I'm very cynical. I'm very skeptical. I don't think every QB class is loaded with CJ Strouds. Certainly not Patrick Mahomes. And every draft, we see many drafts where there's zero. We see some where you get one franchise quarterback. We see some, like the 2020 draft, where you do get 3 or 4. And of course, that was Burrow, Tua, Herbert, and then Jalen Hurts in another round. But in the first round, you had 3. So speaking of first round quarterbacks, it's a huge investment and has the highest bust rate. And so I was honestly in a very small population of Washington fans that didn't want to get the second pick, because I knew that pinholes us there. And I said that I would rather Washington re-sign Kirk Cousins, because we have the most money in free agency. We have a ton of draft pick capital already because of the Montez Sweat and Chase Young trade. And I wanted to use a bunch of the money, because, by the way, what is one of our biggest needs? Offensive line. This is not a good year in the offensive line free agency market. How do I know that? You can check out on Ultimate GM or Manage the Cap on fanspeak.com. Run a couple of simulations and see what offensive linemen you can sign. It's not that great. So I would much rather build a young offensive line, go out and use a lot of that money on Kirk Cousins, and then maybe a couple other pieces, and then trade the world, get a king's ransom for that number 2 pick for someone to trade up to get whoever they like better, May or Jaden Daniels. And then we can build a real team the right way with a new GM that knows how to make picks. Why do you hate my idea?
What is your goal for this idea? What
to win? To win. Well, rookie quarterbacks usually don't win.
What will be considered a success?
What would be considered a success?
10 wins?
11
wins?
Making the playoffs.
9 wins? So we're
10
going
at least
off of playoff berth.
Yeah. I would say the goal would be 10 wins in the NFC. That usually gets you a wild card. So let's say 10 wins and a wild card berth at least.
And I would say at that point, with Kirk Cousins, you've met your ceiling.
No, I do not believe that. I do not believe.
Playoff berth.
That's for this season. The first year of, because the whole Dan Quinn thing, we'll get to coaching carousel changes in a minute. The whole Dan Quinn thing as a Washington fan is growing on me. And by the way, I love that I never changed the "you like that" shirt in the background to just perfectly leave that.
Okay, yeah.
It shows that
you're the only one who likes it, so it's good.
Bullshit. Everybody loves his "you like that." Everybody loves his "you like that" thing. He's gotten very, very lovable, and people are really starting to embrace him these last couple of years. His dorky dad jokes and his Kohl's, his Kohl's Cash wardrobe, and all the things. I mean, first of all, you did not do your assignment, and you did not watch the quarterback series on Netflix.
No, I did not. I'm sorry.
You do need to do that, and you will, because you talk about, Jalen Hurts can squat 600 pounds, and amazing. That's amazing. You know what? And credit to Mahomes. Credit to Mahomes too, because Mahomes in this, you see his preparation and what he does in body work to try to avoid injury. And then obviously it was last year when he got injured in the divisional round, and then he had to do so much work to even play on a high ankle sprain in the conference championship, and then of course the Super Bowl. So, credit to Mahomes, but same with Cousins. He does so much body work. This injury that he had, which Achilles is more freakish injury, was the first injury he has had, the first surgery he has had as a professional ever, the first recovery he's had to go through. He talked about that on the Pat McAfee during Super Bowl week. And he just does an incredible amount of body work, an incredible amount of, he works with a therapist to talk through those kind of things about, obviously, working through all of that thing, which I think is important. And he does all these mind exercises for muscle memory and stuff like that. The guy is just making sure he's working on every aspect of his game to achieve the ultimate goal. So he's not out there partying. He's a family man.
Do you know who else was a hard worker, Meg?
Who?
Rudy.
I know, and I love that movie. Kirk Cousins is not Rudy. Stop. He's one of the statistically has been in the top 10 in the last few years. I mean, he was on pace for decent numbers this year before his Achilles injury. I mean, that happened in October, but still, they had a rough start, and then they went on a couple big wins where they beat the 49ers in primetime wins even too. And then obviously the injury happened in October, and obviously, that's end of season for him there. But listen, I think so many people want the rookie quarterback and think it's going to work, period, but also think it's going to work right away. Very, 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 very rarely. We wrote an article about this from a fantasy statistical standpoint, but it also kind of plays out in real life too. Very rarely are you going to have the CJ Stroud situation. That is like absolute anonymous, or the Justin Herbert from a few years ago. That is very rare. You usually have to have an immense amount of patience before you're, seeing playoffs and wins and playoffs and that kind of stuff. And, I just think with the new coaching staff, this would be the right move in the right way too. He says, Dan Quinn, we're not rebuilding, we're recalibrating. So if you're recalibrating, to me, do it in this way where you can win right away. Because a rookie quarterback I don't think is the path to win right away. You need to, again, exercise patience and then build the team around it the right way through the draft. And that's how this guy, Adam Peters, comes from the 49ers organization, who has done a very good job of doing that throughout the draft. So listen, I think you laughed at me. I think this could be, this was an article written about the Steelers, actually, who Tyler's not on because he would hate this too, but that basically said the Steelers are like the Rams were a couple years ago. They could drop in a Kirk Cousins and have like a Matthew Stafford situation. And while we're not as far as the Steelers, obviously, I still believe that then with this coaching staff, with this GM, with that many draft picks, and then loading up a ton more draft capital for this year, next year, and probably 3 years out, if you were able to trade the number 2, that you could build it the right way around him. So you don't think he's a Matthew Stafford? I'm not saying like one for one he's the exact same, but I think he could take a team to the Super Bowl like Matthew Stafford did in 2021.
Yeah, I completely disagree. I mean, Matthew Stafford, number 1 overall pick, absolute cannon, and languished with one of the worst run franchises ever, right? Cousins is not in that situation, right? Commanders, the original spot, whatever your team name was back then, still had some talent. It was a pretty bad organization, though, right? Now he's gone to Minnesota, another one. It's a pretty good run franchise, right?
Yeah, and he's got a good pairing with Kevin O'Connell. I would think he would go back there, but it comes down to dollars and cents. Like, if you can't pay Justin Jefferson and him, teams find a way, but if they don't want to guarantee that much money for him for 3 years or whatever he wants when they're doing a big Jefferson deal, maybe it won't get done. And I'm saying if it doesn't get done, it's sounding like rumors are Atlanta and Pittsburgh would be the favorites. But there were a couple like Washington as a dark horse per the betting odds. And I pulled it up on DK Sportsbook because this is a betting show, right? Kirk Cousins, -200 Vikings, Falcons +300, Patriots +500. That'd be terrible. Your Raiders +800, Titans +1400, Steelers +1400, and Commanders +1600. So we are the 7th team in line. So, I doubt it. We're not the betting favorites by any means, but I certainly think we could be a dark horse if this GM, assistant GM, and coaching staff does not think that Drake May or Jaden Daniels is someone that they believe they want to build a whole entire franchise around. Because that is a franchise-altering decision when you have that pick. And that's why I almost didn't want it, because I'd rather I get so scared about those rookie quarterbacks. It's never worked. It's literally never worked in my lifetime. So why would I believe in it? It hasn't worked for you either. Has it? I mean, you've never had a rookie quarterback that's really worked. I mean, I guess Derek Carr was drafted, second round?
When we had Derek Carr, I really thought we had like the next Brady. That 2016 rookie year.
Okay.
Oh, he was so good. He was just sitting there throwing darts, and then when he got hurt, he just wasn't the same.
How many playoff appearances did you guys have when he was there? 6, 7 years?
One.
Well, I remember the one in 2021.
Oh, we had 2. So we had the first one the year he was hurt. And we lost to the Texans. And then we had the one the year the Bengals went to the Super Bowl.
Yes, the year
we were actually the closest to beating them, if I remember.
You were the closest to beating them.
We drove all the way down the field.
I remember. I totally remember watching the
red zone failure that Derek Carr is known for. All right, so let me talk about everything you said.
Okay.
First of all, in the NFL, this is something that I believe. You can never pay, in NBA too, the NBA and NFL, you can never pay enough for an elite player.
Okay,
right?
I agree.
And I go off, let's look at the 49ers, right? To me, if Javon Hargrave's worth $90 million, then Nick Bosa's worth $500 million, right? He's way better. Mm-hmm. He's way better. At a certain extent, these elite players, you can't pay them enough for the way that they change the game. But you know where teams really get in trouble is when you play a good player, a very good player, but you pay him elite money, right?
But every quarterback is getting that money. Daniel Jones got that money.
And every team that's done that is regretted it. You don't think that if they could go back right now, they would undo that Daniel Jones contract?
Yeah, but I think Kirk Cousins is much better than Daniel Jones is what I'm trying to say.
You're probably right. But my point is, when you pay a non-elite player elite money, you're screwed. Because that $40 million or whatever you're going to give them, that's costing you between 5 to 6 I don't want to say role players, right? But starting contributing players. Because you're going to lose linebacker depth. You're going to lose offensive line depth, right? You're going to have to get into some problems. When you have that much money tied up into a player that can't carry your team.
But I think he can carry the team. Like the one other thing I want to say about Cousins and the whole Stafford thing, not this year, but last year when they lost to the Giants in the wild card round, and this was on the quarterback series. Watching it back, I was thinking, I was like, wow, it really wasn't on him. The defense played god awful. And I watched a couple of Vikings YouTube quick little things this week about how they felt about Cousins, and they talked about it that playoff loss was not on him. He gets pinned with a lot of stuff, but that playoff loss, he played excellent in that game, and the defense just kept giving it up over and over and over to Saquon and Daniel Jones and company that game. So I do believe
But I almost feel like that leads to my point. You don't think that if they didn't have $40 million in the quarterback, they couldn't have had some better defensive players?
But the quarterback position, to your point, the quarterback position is the one position that you're ultimately going to have to really spend up for if you're going to get somebody great, anywhere great to elite. And I would put Kirk Cousins as great, not elite, great, but not like Daniel Jones level, meh, or now Russell Wilson, to me, he is absolutely a step above. To me, he's in the Dak category.
Right,
Dak,
and you're never going to win Super Bowl with Dak either.
I think Dallas
Dallas shouldn't have paid him $40 million.
Brock Purdy, who I think gets way too much hate, and I think is a good quarterback, a great quarterback, just still needs time. This is only his second year. Almost won a Super Bowl and should have won a Super Bowl, quite honestly. Couple days, so come on.
Right, and their window is 2 more years because once they pay him, they're not going to have that dope team.
Right.
And if he's having to go one-on-one with Mahomes without the extra Avengers behind him, all the better line, better offensive weapons, defenses Chiefs defense played pretty good, so I don't want to say they were better, but I'd say awesome. If you were to trade off the Niners pieces and the Chiefs pieces, you would get way more for the Niners, right? If you just did a
I think the Chiefs defense is better than the Niners.
Do you?
Yeah. I think they were elite. Okay. I mean, they statistically were this year, but they were the number 2 scoring defense. I think they were statistically better in some other defensive categories. But no, I think they are elite. They are absolutely an elite defense. It's scary good that they're probably going to bring most of them back. So
yeah, we'll see.
I guess you and I, here's where you and I disagree. I think guys like Kirk Cousins, Dak Prescott, who else do you put in their category that you don't believe in? Tua, thank you. Tua, I knew there was another one that I love. I think Tua Tagovailoa, I can never.
He's never going to win a title.
Yes,
Never. He can't.
I mean, I'm not guaranteed. It's very hard to win a Super Bowl. We just saw.
I know, but I'm just saying he never will. They're so screwed down there in Miami. Because first of all, once they pay him, they're going to lose a bunch of their debt. I've heard
you give JC that, and I don't believe in that. I don't always agree with your killing JC on that either.
About what? What do I say that's wrong?
Miami never being able to win a title.
They're never going to be able to win a title unless they get a static quarterback.
When you have a coach and a great quarterback, maybe not.
He's not great though.
I think he's great. I think Tua, Kirk, and Dak are in the same bucket, right?
Yeah, they're all good enough to win regular season games, win you your fantasy leagues, and they're never going to do anything in the playoffs.
I would put Goff in that category. He's going to get paid. He's going to get paid. And
he's already paid pretty much, right?
No, he's resigning a big deal. Yeah,
I'm just saying he's going from 30 to 40. Then the Lions are going to have to make a bunch of cuts.
I bet it could be even higher. That Kirk, or I called you Kirk.
Cool.
I meant Kirk, not that Kirk.
I'm showing up Captain Kirk next time with the yellow.
Yeah, spread. I'm telling you, the money goes up every year for these elite numbers are massive for what the Burrows and Herberts and Mahomes are making a year.
Right, and if you have a Burrow, a Herbert, or a Mahomes,
and you think that's worth
money.
It. Okay,
if you have a Dak, a Tua, a Daniel Jones,
but that's a step
Kyler,
down.
You're screwed.
No, you're not. That money is a step below what those guys are making. It's high because the elite quarterback number is high. The average quarterback, Daniel Jones, is high. So that great quarterback number is going to be 45 to 45 million. I don't think that's crazy when some guys are getting what are the elites getting, like 60 million now?
I have no idea.
I think it's somewhere like in the 60 million range. Okay, that's elite. That's worth it. You pay any amount for that, right? I get it. We 100% agree there.
Okay.
And then you've got the average quarterbacks that are even making 30, like Daniel Jones. Okay, people are just desperate for quarterbacks.
But he's an outlier. That was such a stupid
contract. Okay, right. Well,
they were so dumb. If he would have gone on the free market, what do you think he would have got from any other team?
I mean, but I don't know.
12 million? They screwed that up so bad.
No. I'm telling you, we've talked about it over and over. We are in a quarterback-starved league. We do not have the amount of good which is why scoring, in my opinion, scoring is down and won't get fixed until we have an influx of more stable, good quarterbacks. I've said it over and over on this show. This year, we had a lot of good quarterbacks retire over the last, 5-6 years, and they haven't been replaced adequately enough to have enough good quarterbacks. So we're just starved for quarterback talent. And so that's why people will pay Daniel Jones $30 million. But I don't put Kirk Cousins and Dak and Tua in that same bucket at all. So that's where you and I disagree. And I think all three of those could win a Super Bowl. Do I hope it's Dak? No, because he plays for the Cowboys.
None of them will ever win a Super Bowl.
I mean, I wish there was a way you and I could have a bet on this, but it's like, what are we going to bet this for the rest of our life?
Yeah, we'll pay it off in 10 years.
Okay, then we'll pay it off in 10 years. You name the price, because I mean, but we see how hard it is to win a Super Bowl, right? You do need the stars to align. Like you do need, like in the case of the Dolphins this year, I think they could have gone farther. Would they have won the Super Bowl? Maybe not, but they got decimated by injuries on the defensive side of the ball mainly, but then the offensive line too. You have got to stay healthy and have injury luck. And then you have to have variance. Like the Chiefs have had a horseshoe up their ass for like the last couple of years, just getting bounces and things to break your way sometimes. Sometimes it is those little things that did not go the 49ers way on the Super Bowl Sunday to win a championship. But you can be right there and it can all make sense. And but the stars have to align. That's why Team of Destiny to me is true. I mean, you have to have the talent, you have to be well run, all the things, but you also have to, have the little things break your way too. So, look how many good quarterbacks have not won it, like Dan Marino, Phillip Rivers. I'm missing some. Name other good quarterbacks. Great elite quarterback. Who would be other elite quarterbacks in your mind that didn't win outside of Dan Marino? Didn't win a championship.
Yeah, so let's see. We got Phillip Rivers,
Marino, Rivers, Warren Moon, Donovan McNabb. Would you count him?
Not really. Would you?
He took the Eagles to a lot of defensive NFC championships there for a while, early 2000s.
Yeah, he was good. I wouldn't put him.
Warren Moon, that's another good one.
I'm trying to think of the ones when I was growing up.
My point to saying all this is there are other guys out there that, whether you put them in the great, elite, whatever, it just didn't happen for him. Didn't Rivers have a couple seasons of like 14-2, 13-3, and it just something fell apart in the playoffs, Mm-hmm. And you thought, oh, this is finally his year. When they had LaDainian Tomlinson. I remember a couple of those years where I was like, whoa, I can't believe they're not making it.
Yeah.
So that's all my
So here's my concern for you, Meg.
Okay, give me it.
Let's use the New York Jets as an example, right?
Okay.
Over the last 2 years, they've crushed in the draft. Crushed.
The offense, yeah.
They got a great tackle, right, in Vera Tucker. They got Garrett Wilson. They got Breece Hall. They got Sauce Gardner.
Yeah, I think they have a lot of offensive outline issues still. But yes, they still have. I'm just
saying, right? I mean, that's one of the best past 2 years, right?
Right, sure.
Those 2 years of drafting up against anyone. But where are they now? Stuck. Because you know what pick they missed? The number 2 overall pick was Zach Wilson. So as good as
exactly, you're going to my point now. You're going to my point. What if the Washington does a Zach Wilson all over again? What if we get a Zach Wilson, a lemon?
So that's my point. You trade this number 2, you get all these great draft picks. Let's just say you nail it. If you still don't have the quarterback, it doesn't matter at all.
But that's my point. I think Kirk Cousins is the quarterback.
But he's not. And we already know we disagree on that. But let's go my way. Let's go my way.
Okay.
Let's say you guys do take Drake May because
let's
play
plausible.
It's the most plausible. Someone trades up for number 1, they're taking Caleb. Okay?
Right.
If you hit on that pick, which is likely. I mean, the kid is a stud.
Didn't he regress this year?
Yes, that's fine. Herbert regressed his senior year too.
There's a lot of guys that have regressed their senior year and then it hasn't been so good when they've come to the NFL.
Okay, but my point is, if you hit on that pick, you are set for the next 12 years.
Mm-hmm.
Look at what Kansas City's doing, right? I mean, these teams...
what you're missing, though, there, and that's another point that I wish we could do, but we can't. Did Mahomes play his first year? He did not. And I'm not saying that Mahomes wouldn't be Mahomes now if he went right to the Wolves year 1 without Alex Smith being there. But maybe he wouldn't have been Mahomes in 19 and 20 and 21. It might have taken till now, or not till now. It might have taken longer is what I'm saying. I'm just saying this whole, you start right away. I understand why it has to happen, but back in our day, that didn't always happen.
No, okay. So I agree with you on that. I think that.
And we've also seen it success. The Packers have lucked into it twice now. Let's be honest.
I think getting drafted to Andy Reid had a lot more to do with his success rather than the sitting a year. The coach matters so much.
The coach matters.
The coach matters so much.
Yes.
For example, if Patrick Mahomes got drafted by the Raiders, are we 3-time champions? I don't think so.
Right. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I don't think John Gruden would have got that out of him. John Gruden was playing 20 years ago style football. Yeah. Andy Reid's playing modern football.
Right.
Teams are watching what Reid's doing right now, today, right? Yeah. John Gruden's like, that was some throwback football. Oh, we got a fullback. Oh, this is cool, right? Mm-hmm. To be fair, Shanahan uses a fullback a lot. But you understand my point.
Yeah.
I don't know if that was sitting
We're
as
in
much
agreement
as just
here.
being drafted to the right coach.
No, you and I are in lockstep that who the coach and quarterback pairing is massive. And
which is why I was a little disappointed with the Dan Quinn hire. Personally. Because I would have wanted to get an offensive mind in there. I would have wanted to go all offense and try and just draft Drake May and get this kid developed properly.
Well, what were we going to do? What were we going to do when Ben Johnson didn't want to date us, basically? I mean, he said no and did it quite honestly in basically stood us up. This literally.
I know. How rude is that?
That's messed up. Like, hopefully, that's not forgotten. I'm
it's
sure.
It's like you guys were sitting at the bar on Tinder and you go to check the messages and he unmatched you like at
you
the
keep
daytime.
you keep looking at the door to see if he's good. Yeah,
what a
no,
jerk.
That's messed up. It was messed up. But what are you going to do? You can't do anything. And then Slowick got more money to stay in Houston. Those were the two main offensive guys. What are you going to do? You can't force it. They said they wanted a leader. They got a leader. I didn't love it at first, but it's really growing on me. He has put together an amazing staff. Not just Cliff Kingsbury.
So are you happy with Kingsbury? Because I'm happy you guys got him. I didn't want him. I'm actually happier with Getsy, as crazy as that sounds.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, well then we should shift, unless there's anything else about the Cousins other than you need to watch the quarterback series and maybe you'll come around to realizing
there's nothing that's going to make me see it. I mean,
so you're saying
I can see him like building houses in Mexico for impoverished children and like carrying people on his back and being the greatest human being.
He is adorable, yeah.
Like chilling with Mother Teresa, R.I.P. Right, but Mother Teresa too, if there is one. And I still wouldn't believe in him, his ability to get those wins when it matters. Just the things that I've seen as far as being messed up, and I understand the primetime deal, but he's definitely a creature of routine.
He's been working through that. He's
definitely a creature of routine. He's coming off a huge injury, an Achilles. Now, to be fair, he didn't use mobility that much, but these things do start to creep in, and I know, I always say this, Tom Brady's got people twisted, Aaron Rodgers has people twisted. Look at Derek Carr, man. He's 33 and he's washed. I mean, he's washed. I'm trying to think of other quarterbacks that I'm looking at now that I'm like, you're done. And it's like you're in your early 30s. Like being able to compete late into your 30s, I think we're taking it for granted and we're not. And just my final point is,
and I'll bring this up later and then you give your final point. Then.
We'll do that. If you get this number 2 pick right, you're set for the next 10 years.
Mm-hmm. I know. I'm just skeptical.
For the next 10 years.
I've sent you the NFL.
If you do your area, you get 2 good years with Cousins. Let's just say you nail all those draft picks, but now you're like the Jets and you need a quarterback to go with
they have a quarterback
that team.
I might bet that some part of our offseason series is going to be talking NFL futures. I might bet the Jets for futures for the Super Bowl. I think they could win the Super Bowl.
Oh, please don't do that.
Yes, because I think Aaron Rodgers.
No, Rodgers was begin with, and then he's going to be coming back off this injury. Oh my
and again, he's not at this point in his career using mobility outside of just like moving.
But that was a big part of Rodgers' game. I would say that's more important for Rodgers than it is for Cousins.
Than Cousins, yes, I will say. But I still think he obviously was trying to work his way back last year, and that was, it was what it was, and they were out of playoff contention. And my point is, I still believe that Rodgers can be effective. He had the one down season. He came off 2 back-to-back MVP seasons. 1 bad season when a lot of pieces were injured for Green Bay, and then played 4 snaps for the Jets. So we really don't know. Yes, how does he come back? We'll see. But that quarterback piece, an elite quarterback piece, an elite mind, has it here up as well.
I'm just saying, would you rather be in the Jets situation right now or the Texans situation? As a fan, I would rather be in the Texans situation.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
you got your young quarterback, you got a young defensive lineman to build around, and you've got a great head coach. Right?
Yes. Yes.
What do the Jets have? They have a great roster. They have a question mark at quarterback that's 40. Even if he does well, you got 1 or 2 years left.
Of an elite quarterback.
Your coach is even that good.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, the offensive coordinator is a concern, but it's Rodgers' guy, so that's a whole nother ball of wax and issue and that kind of stuff. So, yeah, I mean, I'm
just saying, you got to swing for the fences here, Meg. You have an opportunity to set yourself up for the next 10 years. You don't turn that down for 2 years of security and maybe making the playoffs.
He wants to play three more years.
In the first round.
3.
Because that's what would happen.
I don't think that's... Okay, so I don't think that's the ceiling. I think he could go to the Super Bowl, and I think he wants 3 years. So it would be 3 years. So that's another point. And who knows? Maybe you could draft a quarterback later in the draft to then do the whole grooming thing. I do believe in the whole grooming thing. I really, really, really do. I mean, the Jordan Love thing... If Jordan Love would have played the first year,
here's the thing. If you signed Cousins and you drafted Drake, I'd be fine with that.
Well, we can't do that. I mean,
that's
too much. That's too much capital. You got to.
No,
that's too
not.
much. That's too much capital in the quarterback position.
How
It's
is
like
it
best
not? Drake May's only going to be getting like $800,000 a year.
But if Cousins is going to play 3 years,
No,
then
you only sign him for 1. You guys did this before. You didn't want him as your franchise quarterback before.
he's not taking a deal for under 3. That's the clear thing. That's why he may not.
No way. There's no way you take him. There's no way.
For 3, if I had to pay 2 to 3 years guaranteed and 3 years to have a quarterback that I have a chance to go to the playoffs every single year, and I do believe if we built the right team around him, then have a chance to go to the Super Bowl, and then you can groom somebody underneath him and not just roll the dice on number 2 and hope it works. That's
rolling the dice is how it works. Rolling the dice is how these.
It's also how it fails.
Situation they're in.
It's also how it fails. It fails again for you and I. It's never worked. It's never worked. It's worked for
and I'm still haven't given up on it, right?
Well, I've given up on love. I've given up on I'm just kidding.
I was gonna say, like my friends, they met online, right? They met their wives online. All right. I mean, you can still swipe.
No, I've haven't given up on love, but I've given up on.
Well, this is going to be so much fun because number one, I think that the Commanders' new front office is sharp.
I do. Oh, I love the new front.
So there's no way he's going to make this mistake that you're.
We don't know how he feels
right now.
We don't know how.
So you're going to draft Drake May. He's going to be great. And I'm going to be able to victory lap this for you for years.
Whatever they choose, because I do believe in Adam Peters. I do believe in this.
I kind of feel that way with the Raiders, too. I'm just kind of like, whatever happens.
Yeah, it's like
I don't care about trading up. I don't care if we don't draft a quarterback.
I trust. Yeah, I'm trusting the process and the new ownership and the new GM and everything. I am trusting in Quinn and the new staff. Whatever they decide, I will believe in it. I'm just saying what I would prefer because I think it would be a right path. And nobody agrees with me, including you. Steve kind of agrees with me. And this is what Steve said. He said, the one thing keep in mind for Drake May, he's probably talking to me because I'm poo-pooing, is he learned on the air raid under Phil Longo in 2022. Longo learned it partially from Kingsbury. Oh, he was talking to you about the Kingsbury thing and why Kingsbury would be beneficial. So hopefully that would be a quick overlap, I guess, in learning that. So well, if people are tuned in and want to hear things other than the Washington offseason,
I know, huh?
We wanted to have a debate because just Brett and I are going back and forth in Twitter DMs about, maybe it's because I think he's so cute. He's such a good guy. He wants to.
Here's what I think the crux of this argument comes down to. I don't believe in these 5 through 10 quarterbacks. And you do. Like, I don't think Dak's ever going to make a Super Bowl.
That is what it comes down to.
I don't think Tua's ever... Okay, he's never going to win.
Steve,
because
we've seen do you think Dak, Tua, and Kirk could win a Super Bowl? I bet.
We've seen average quarterbacks make the Super Bowl, but they rarely win. We got only years 2017, which was weird. Then you go back to
Wait, who was 2017?
Foles.
Oh, right. Yeah, a backup. That's like the only time a backup.
Yeah, that was weird.
Yeah.
Then you go back to 2012... And you have Flacco, right?
Right.
But every other quarterback has just been a stud. Right? You got Prime Russ, you got Brady. Who else won in the last? I'm trying to think in the last 10 years.
It was Prime Russ, Brady, Mahomes, and Stafford. I mean, that was
about it, right? Because Brady won like half of them.
Brady won like half of them, and now Mahomes has won 3. Stafford.
So I'm just saying, only the elite guys really seem to win it. That's why if I'm giving a guy $40 million or more, he better be elite. I don't want to do it for an average guy. I don't want to do it for Dak.
He's not average.
I don't want to do it
He's
for
great.
Tua.
He's not average.
I don't want to do it for a non-elite guy because that's where you get in trouble.
But there's only 5 non-elite, or there's only 5 like elite guys.
Right, so that's why you go for the cheap route, and
pray to God Drake May's elite, and just pray he's the next Josh Allen,
and just load up studs around him because you'll be picking everywhere.
See, he said Purdy almost won. Let's see, he's coming.
Almost.
Oh, come on. We just talked about how close that was sliding towards bullshit.
I also think Purdy's way better than people give him credit for. I don't think he's a system guy. I don't
either. I think he gets way too much.
I think he would be great on my team. I think Devontae Adams look good. I mean, I think.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Because everyone go, Shanahan's system. Well, it's like really only Jimmy G and Purdy that did it. Like Beathard didn't do good in that. Nick Mullins didn't do in that. So it's not like you can just throw anyone in there.
No, yeah, I don't. The Purdy slander is too much too. I don't. But
I also feel the same way, and we'll see.
Oh, Steve agrees with me. Is Stafford really top 5?
I think so.
So how would you rank it? I know you like to rank it. Give me your quarterback ranking.
Okay, but we're going for that year. The year that he won, he was a top 5 guy.
21. Okay, so in 21, you thought Stafford was 5th, probably, behind like Mahomes, Burrow, Herbert, probably that year.
Allen.
Was
Allen good that year? He might not have been good that year.
Yeah, Allen's been great the last few years.
I'm trying to think. And then they beat the Niners, Jimmy G, Philadelphia ran. Who did they beat in their first matchup? Did they beat Arizona that year? Is that
who?
The Rams?
It was like
Arizona on the first Monday Night Football ever.
Yeah. They went through Arizona.
Yeah, so that was Kyler. That was
you got the Shoups against you. You got the siblings against you.
That's fine. I mean, statistically speaking, like Dan Marino was better than Joe Montana. So I mean, I'll take Joe Montana.
But you still thought Dan Marino? You still thought Dan Marino could have won a Super Bowl and he was elite?
Yes, he could have. That wasn't the best example. I'm trying to think of someone who would have been more of a. See, we didn't really have stat patterns in the '80s.
Yeah. Wait, what does he say? Jimmy G and Purdy versus.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just saying Purdy's not a system guy. I think he'd be successful on more than half the teams in the league.
Oh, 100% agree with you there. Okay, so we had our quarterback debate. Now, how about Cousins and what I want? And you're going to be very happy for me if Drake May works out. I'll be very upset if we draft Jaden Daniels. I've been watching more stuff on him. It feels like he could be a bust. It seems like a one read and run guy. Doesn't get through progressions and doesn't protect himself. I was watching a thing, a best ball show that had Connor Rogers on, and he talked about how he does not protect himself well from hits. That's like the ultimate nightmare for me. I don't like the running quarterbacks make me nervous. And then if there are running quarterbacks that doesn't know how to protect themselves, no ma'am, because you know what the best availability is availability. And if you cannot be on the field, you're not doing me any good at the number 2 pick. So if you're a running quarterback, you need to protect yourself. And yeah.
Wow. We're slandering Anthony Richardson this early in the morning, Meg. I guess it's afternoon.
Well, I said I felt that way about him.
I'm just messing around.
Anthony Richardson.
That was the same thing I thought about him. I just watched him and I'm like, he looks like a fullback.
Yeah.
That was the same thing about Trey Lance when I watched him too. I go, you guys are acting like he's Lamar Jackson. He looks like Tim Tebow. Yeah. He looked like he was not fast at all. He was a straight line guy.
Yeah. And they said
I'm concerned about Jaden Daniels.
I'm very concerned. So I'm concerned about Jaden Daniels. I mean, and Josh Allen has gotten lucky that he hasn't gotten injured because he bulldozed it. I know he's built. He's
going to be like Cam Newton. He's not going to age well into his 30s.
That's what I mean, though. So I mean, that stuff catches up with you, and that concerns me. I think he's gotten lucky that he hasn't sustained out 6-8 weeks or season long injury to this point, being what he does. And if you can't protect yourself, that's a big issue. They said that's a concern with Jaden Daniels, that the whole take one read and run, that I don't want Jaden Daniels. I don't care what the athleticism is. You can say he could be the next Lamar Jackson, but these things are outliers. So again, if it's I'd rather, if we're going to do the whole number 2 thing and you're rooting for me that it works out.
Oh, it's Drake May. There's no way. I think
there's a lot of talk. You know how draft rumors are.
But I swear that's because they just need to write an article, right? They call me.
I don't know. I think a lot of draft analysts.
Spread. We need an article. We got to do 30 of these for the next 3 months. I don't write that Caleb Williams is going to go number 1. We already know that. Give me something controversial, right? And
so you think that's what they told Mel Kiper because he mocked Jaden Daniels to the Washington?
Is he still? I thought he retired when Jimmy Clausen wasn't good because I do remember.
He should have.
Do you remember that?
Yeah.
I will retire if he's not the best.
He didn't retire then. No, he's been going this whole time.
Yeah. So I mean, he could be right. I mean, obviously he has way more connections than I do.
Oh,
I just don't see. I mean, I also thought her talk that Drake May was better than Caleb.
I've heard both. I mean, I think Caleb.
I think 1 and 2 are just locked up. It's just I think the Bears will pick Caleb.
If we're keeping 2, I do hope it's May. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you get May, and then I'm scared we trade up to number 3. I think you're right. I think
you should be worried about that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially if you have Getsy and he didn't do well with Field. So who do you want? So, okay, the quarterback carousel around and round. say Kirk Cousins either lands in, well, Tyler would hate Pittsburgh, but Pittsburgh or Atlanta, or stays in Minnesota, and we don't get him, and you don't get him, and we keep number 3. What do you want the Raiders to do? And kind of then we'll talk about.
I want to pick Penix or Bo Nix.
I think Penix is. You talked about in this season. Yeah. I kind of poo-poo. I actually think Penix is going to be better. And I don't watch any tape like Steve does. We're doing a show, by the way, that'll be up tonight, previewing quarterbacks for best ball purposes. So we're doing a rookie series, and we're going to have a show up about the quarterbacks. So it's only going to be about.
I can't wait to see that.
4 or 5 guys, because
hopefully
we're only talking about guys that could actually be best ball draftable and start this year. Penix being one of them. Penix is the one that impresses me the most.
Meg. Are you leaving out my guy Spencer Rattler?
We are definitely. We absolutely are. I think we're even leaving out your guy Bo Nix, I think. So.
Oh, Bo Nix could start.
Could?
I think he could. If he gets drafted to Vegas, he'll be starting by week 4, I'll bet.
Yeah, but don't you think, what pick number does Vegas have?
14 or 13 or something.
I mean, I think I know the biggest wild card with Penix is the medicals, but if the medicals come back clean, and which we'll know in early reports, the combine's in a couple weeks. Mm-hmm. If the medicals come back clean, I think the best move for you think the best move for me is May. I think the best move for you is a rookie. And I think if Penix is there, I think he's going to be the one from this class that is going to be like, wow, you got him. You didn't have to get him in the top 5 or 10. Right. Like, I think he could be really, really good. So, okay. So any other like quarterback carousel things, like,
yes.
Where do you see then Cousins landing, and where do you see Fields being traded to?
These are great questions, Meg. I would guess that Cousins resigns.
It's not sounding like a done deal. That's why I've made this whole stink.
Yeah.
that and that I watched the quarterback series on Netflix and I got obsessed with him.
So why would they not re-sign him?
Because he wants 3 years guaranteed.
And they don't want to give him that?
I don't know. I think that could be the sticking point of why it hasn't happened yet. I mean, they have to get a big deal with Jefferson. I mean, like Steve has said, teams move money around all the time. I mean, the Bengals are, franchise tagging likely Higgins to get another run. I think that's the rumor, or looking to be that could happen. So it's like teams do stuff all the time that, it could be then like not good if it doesn't work out in that window, but like they try to make it work, if they feel like they have the right nucleus at the right time and stuff. That's why people talk about these windows and all that stuff. But no, it does not seem like a done deal. And I don't know if it's just Minnesota's hung up on the 3-year thing, because it can't be the money thing. I mean, they have to know like kind of what the going rate for him is. So, and I mean, obviously, listen, if anybody should appreciate Kirk Cousins, it should be the Vikings, who took a peek behind the curtain and saw what life was like without Kirk Cousins last year. You have one of the best or second best, top 3, whatever you want to rank, Jefferson, Hill, Chase, in the league. And then you have Jordan Addison, TJ Hawkinson. You've got to get a good quarterback. Like, if it's not Cousins, then who?
You'd be drafting one. If they don't want to re-sign him, they're basically out on this.
To me, then they're the ones that have to come up and get somebody. And then that would be hugely risky if it's not like us. So if it's not us getting Cousins and they trade up to get Drake, then if they're like just going to go for Jaden,
they'll trade up. I would think they would just pick somebody.
Do they pick ahead of you?
I don't think so.
Okay. Well, then if like a Penix isn't there, that would make, what are you doing? Like a JJ McCarthy? Like, I know
I don't think that's that bad. I don't think Spencer Rattler's that bad. I think there's a lot of good potential quarterbacks here.
Oof. I feel like that's risky when you have Justin Jefferson and Jordan, that receiver tight end room. And then you're going to roll the dice on, like, again, I think Penix is the next best after. I think he's going to be better than Daniels. Again, in my quick, not detailed dive at scouting the college prospects at this point. And again, I learned everything for Steve. This series we're about to do is when I learned about Laporta. I'd be like, tell me which tight ends we should be drafting. And he was like, Iowa tight ends, they crank them out, fit to the perfect system. And I knew, like, Detroit, the Lions targeted their tight ends very much in the red zone, even after they lost Hawkinson. So I knew all that. And so that's why when the Florida stuff started, like literally in last spring. So this series should be fun. Okay. So you think Cousins should be. I think that's what Minnesota should do, but will they? So you think they should resign
The
Cousins?
fact that they didn't extend him already makes me think that they have some doubts about him.
Right. So that means. So what do they do?
And
if
they
not?
could have resigned him before that injury, so it's not even injury concerns.
So do you think they go for Fields? I just feel like that's so risky to go rookie.
Well, Fields is an interesting situation because I talked about committing money to these guys, and you only get 1 year of Fields on a rookie deal.
Yeah.
And then you're going to have to make the decision.
Right.
And he's another one that I would say you're screwed.
And like, what happens if he gets injured?
Give him all that money. He's not carrying your team.
Right.
So you're going to lose 4 solid linemen, linebackers, right? I mean, guys that you need to make the team work for a guy that I understand he's got some great highlights, but I can't necessarily count on him.
Oh, I don't want to build around. I wouldn't want that.
No. So I think that's why Fields is interesting here. And I've always been like, unless the guy's elite, don't re-sign him.
Well, so here's where, go back to the betting market. I gave you the numbers on Cousins on per DraftKings Sportsbook for Justin Fields' next team. Steelers are number one, minus 125. Back to the Bears, 200. That's not going to happen. Falcons plus 550. Patriots 650. Broncos 1,200. Commanders 1,200. That better not happen. Raiders 1,300. Seahawks 3,000. Sounding like the betting market feels like, or Vegas thinks it's Steelers.
That would make sense.
Steelers and Falcons seem to be the name that everybody's attaching these quarterbacks to. If we're talking about quarterback carousel, not just Washington, not just Vegas, from like a non-R
That's probably
person.
because those teams are the closest to just needing the quarterback, right? I mean, it doesn't make sense for Carolina. Well, they got Bryce Young, but even a team in Carolina's position to go all in a quarterback. Even the Patriots, right? It's going to be a 2 or 3 year rebuild.
Yeah, that's going to be a rebuild.
There's no reason to get a Fields right now. I think Pittsburgh would be a good fit for him personally.
So even though you don't love Fields as like he's going to win championships, you think Pittsburgh would be a good fit just because the team is so well built around him and the coach.
Yeah, and just because you trade for him for this 1 year doesn't mean you have to give him that huge deal unless he proves it.
Right.
So
yeah, I wonder what I think. Tyler said that he did not mind Fields, so hopefully he'd be fine with that. It's gonna burn me.
Like anything.
He does not. It's gonna burn me if Cousins goes to Pittsburgh or Vegas and you guys aren't grateful.
Well, why would I be grateful?
Because I'd be grateful, and if you get them and are going to be all,
I'd be grateful for having the 3rd or 4th best quarterback in the division. No,
well, everybody's going to be that in your division because you've got Mahomes and Herbert. Like you said, it's brutal. It's rough.
It sucks. Yeah.
Okay, so that's the QB carousel is going to be interesting to know who's going to do what in the draft. We will know after the dominoes fall with Cousins and Fields. Which
there's one player that you keep forgetting, Meg, and can you pull him up on DraftKings Sportsbook right now?
Baker?
Russell.
Oh yeah, he's right. He's the next one right here. Yes. Okay. He's the first one. Sorry. Excuse me. Russell Wilson, odds. Steelers plus 100. Back to the Broncos plus 320.
Okay, let's go to the Steelers real quick.
Yeah, they're the top.
If you're a Steelers fan, who would you rather have, Russ or Fields?
I guess Fields, but I don't know. Russ may be in that. What did you say they're going to have to pay Russ, though?
No, they won't have to pay Russ because they'll just give him a veteran minimum because Denver has to pay whatever the offset is. But
isn't the offset? Aren't they on the hook for something? You sure about that?
Steelers or Denver?
Yeah, whoever gets
them is on the hook for whatever they sign them for, and Denver has to make up the rest.
So you think, and you don't think?
So why would they pay for anything more than the veteran minimum? That's why I think Wilson's so attractive.
Okay, so you would want Wilson.
I think that's a good question. Wilson or Fields? So Wilson's one of those ones, right? We talk about statistically speaking.
Mm-hmm.
His stats do not match the play on the field.
That's true.
Do you ever watch him and go, boy, I wish that guy was on my team? No. But then you look, he had like 3,000 yards. He had like a 65%.
He did not have a good statistics season. He barely cleared 200 yards a lot of games this year.
Let me look it up.
It was bad. It was real bad.
Was it really that bad? Because
it was bad.
At one point they were really doing short.
They were very efficient. Steve says he'd rather Russ than Fields.
Yeah, I'm thinking so too.
So yeah, look up the stats.
Yeah,
I thought
this isn't that bad. So I'm going 2023 Broncos. He completed 66% of his passes, 3,000 yards, 26 TDs, 8 interceptions, QB rating of 98. Seems pretty good, right? 26 to 8 on your TD to interception ratio?
What's the actual TD percentage to interception percentage?
Where do I find that? I just Googled it real quick.
Oh, okay. I was on Pro Football Reference for Cousins.
I'm on Google.
I mean, you're acting like that's great, and you're poo-pooing the guy who had 4,500 plus yards, 29 touchdowns, 14 interceptions, and then the year before, 33 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, and you're poo-pooing him. And you're
at
saying
$40 million a year. Yes, I am. I'm saying the reason this guy Russ is a great deal is I'm getting him for
if you're
3,000 yards, 26 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, and it's going to cost me $1 million a year, and I can just load up the rest of my team.
Okay. Well, then that's why Russ odds must be so low for so many teams, because he's plus 100 for the Steelers, plus 320 Broncos, plus 450 Falcons, plus 450 Patriots, plus 600 Raiders, plus 1,000 Minnesota. And then it goes to like Washington, Tennessee, that kind of stuff. So that's why is because, like you said, he could be dropped in and built around. So yeah, I guess that makes a little sense, because like you said, with how many more years are on Russ's deal? 2?
I think. Well, let's see. He got the extension when he signed, and I
mean,
think
either
it was
way,
a 4-year deal. So we're 2 years through. We have 2 or 3 left.
Okay. Well, so yeah, I would say a team like Pittsburgh, Russ makes the most sense, just because he was so efficient with his touchdown interceptions, making sure that, that's what you need on a team like that that's got a good defense led by TJ Watt. I think actually Russ would be the best fit for the Steelers.
Yeah.
So
I wouldn't even mind.
But then that opens
my
up.
My friends hate it, but I wouldn't even mind him in Las Vegas.
Right.
My friends were pissed at me for saying that, but I'm like,
you guys are plus 600 for him.
At that amount of money, we could draft a quarterback too. Now, maybe Russ isn't the guy you want mentoring. He's a weirdo. I don't know.
He's a weirdo. He's a bit of a weirdo. Yeah.
Well, I don't think his teammates like him.
Yeah,
that's a big issue.
Yeah, that's not great, obviously, but yeah, if he could play any kind of facilitating a mentoring role, I think that would be huge, because it's talking about what we talked about earlier, like letting that guy sit and groom could be huge. So, I mean, what if a guy like Nix falls to 2nd or 3rd round, and you got like a Russ and a Nix, something like that could be awesome. I think there could be like a guy like Nix or somebody else that falls. I mean, if you like Rattler, I don't know where he's going. Steve would know better, but so yeah. So that was Wilson's odds for the next team. We already covered Cousins' odds for the next team. And then Fields' odds, yes, Pittsburgh minus 125, Bears 200, Falcons plus 550, Patriots plus 650. So it really is top heavy, because then it goes into like plus 1,200 after that. So they really feel like Fields is going to be, I don't know why Bears is so high, because I really feel like the Caleb Williams thing is almost the done deal there. But
yeah, I feel like that game, week 18, or the Packers game, was basically an audition, and he failed.
Yep. Then he failed.
Right? He showed up, he stuttered, his voice cracked, right? I mean, it was just a terrible audition. They got the hook. I mean, I think, and with Getsy leaving, I just...
No, I think the signs are pointing to, all signs are pointing to Caleb Williams there. So you got to think it's Steelers, Falcons, Patriots for Fields, and then Steelers, Falcons, Patriots, Raiders for Russ seem like the highest odds. And then Cousins, obviously, after Minnesota, is that Falcons, Steelers are the biggest, and then Patriots, Raiders, Washington. So, these are the big domino, these 3. And then as far as you mentioned Baker earlier, I really believe Bucs will re-sign him, and I think they would be smart to do so, as long as it's...
Do you think he's going to fall off with that awesome offensive coordinator leaving?
It's always a concern, right? With these coordinators, combos, and he's had to change coaches so much in his young career that you wonder, because he obviously absolutely clicked with Dave Canales. So if they could have gotten what Detroit got, which is another year with their coordinator, that would have been, I think, massive for Baker. But
yeah.
I mean, yeah, I think if they could bring Evans back too, like if Evans wants to retire a Buccaneer, then I think that's huge because obviously there has not been a drop off there. Evans was elite again this year. So this quarterback carousel is going to be fun to watch because whatever that happens is then going to show us who's going to be doing what in the draft, which will make things really, really, really interesting. Coaching changes. Let's talk about that. We obviously know you're now rolling with Antonio Pierce, Washington, Dan Quinn, but there was also other, 6 other coaching changes. We had Mike McDonald to the Seahawks. I'm just rolling through them, reading off the ESPN.
Let's go off each one. Let's talk about our thoughts on each one. I'll be quick. I mean, not much, right? I'm not.
Yeah. Okay, so quick hitters. Obviously, the first one
Mike McDonald.
Well, okay. Well, we already covered the Washington. I'm now fully on board. I was not at first, but
I don't like it, but
I'm fully on board, and I think he's hired a great staff, offense and defenses. I mean, he's pulling guys from the 49ers. He got Ken Norton Jr. He got another offensive line or defense. I don't know. There was multiple coaches.
We had Ken Norton. You don't want him.
You don't like Ken Norton?
He just sits in that like Seattle cover 2 shell the whole time. Like he's not.
He's the linebackers coach.
Oh, that's it?
Yeah.
We had him as our DC.
Oh, no.
And he tried to run the same system that Seattle ran and realized, whoa, without elite secondary people, you can't just sit in these zones all day and only rush 4 and get all these interceptions. And, so much of that scheme was just we have better players than you.
Right. No, he's the linebackers coach, and they kept Ryan Kerrigan, who I love so much. I love Ryan Kerrigan, former Washington player. He's been an assistant linebackers coach. They kept him. But no, they really, really, really built a good staff. So I know people are skeptical, and I think he's a good leader.
I was skeptical too. But here's one thing I want to keep in mind. I like Lombardi, who's on VSiN a lot, the GM Shuffle.
Yeah.
He makes a good point, right? Being in the front office. He said, no one wants to hire someone that failed.
Right.
He's like, I kind of liked having someone the second time. Right?
Yeah.
Pete Carroll failed.
They want to prove the people wrong, and that's what he said.
And Bill Belichick failed his first time, right?
Right.
What did they do? They learned from their mistakes.
When
you bring a new guy in, he's got no mistakes to learn from. So when you have a guy like Dan Quinn, not only is he coming in with, we can say, excellent defensive knowledge, right? Because he took over a Dallas Cowboys defense that I believe declined in talent during his time there. I feel like they lost a lot of depth. A lot of those players that were there the first year that he was there ended up getting big contracts elsewhere, so he's getting his guys paid, right?
Right.
But I don't think that this current Dallas defense was necessarily as talented as the one he took over, and the results were the same.
Right.
So we'll give him credit for understanding defensive schemes and developing defensive personnel.
And he brought Joe Witt Jr. from Dallas to be his DC. Yeah.
And he has all these mistakes to learn from. So he's not going in trying to figure things out. He's going to say, okay, last time, you know what I sucked at? I did not get us to the hotel in time.
Yeah, exactly.
We got it. This is something I'm going to do different. We're doing, Saturday night curfew was a waste of time. Whatever these mistakes were, he has something to learn from.
Right.
I'll go ahead and give you guys some more credit here since we spent so much time arguing. I got to get back on your good side. You know what the great part about hiring Kingsbury?
Yeah.
He's not going to get stolen.
No.
Right? Like Ben Johnson, how many more years you got with that dude, right? Slowick, right? How many more years
they're going to be,
in Houston, right?
Unless they're total weirdos, they're going to be.
For my coordinator, Getsy, and your coordinator, Kingsbury, I don't think anyone's going to try and hire him.
Right. So I think you get at least a couple years for sure. Yeah.
So I agree. There's a lot to be positive there. And I think if you do go my route and you draft Drake May, that's going to be important. Because I hate when these guys, I really think it would have hurt CJ Stroud a lot to lose Slowick and have to
that was massive for them to keep Slowick. Yeah.
So the fact that you're going to get him for at least the first 2 or 3 years in your new quarterback's development, because trust me, these guys are smart, Meg. They're not going to make the mistake that you're advocating for. You will be drafting a quarterback at number 2, and you will like it, and you will love it. You'll be wearing a Drake May jersey. You're going to be going, boy, 2 years in a row, the number 2 pick was Rookie of the Year. How lucky are we? Right? No, I mean, a little bit of exaggeration here.
I was going to say, the girl can dream. A girl can dream.
No, but I think you're in a good spot here. While I was down on the Quinn hire, I mean, it's not like Bill Belichick was wait, he was available. It's not like Mike Vrabel. Oh, wait, he was available. How did these two guys not get hired, Meg?
Well, how they not get? I know why they didn't get hired by Washington, and they didn't get hired by Washington. I'm sure Spread will be able to rejoin us in a minute, but they didn't get hired by Washington because Washington got the new GM, and it's a GM centric. GM does their job, head coach does their job. They work in tandem, but it's not the coach making the personnel decisions. Right. And Belichick won't give up that control, and apparently Vrabel won't give it. That was reported by Diana Rossini and others that Ian Rappaport that
both of them are making huge mistakes
then the reason Vrabel wouldn't be a fit for Washington, the reason Belichick wouldn't have been a fit for Washington was because they needed that personnel control. We just we got the slam dunk home run number 1 GM on the market. You're not going to then mess with that. Let him do his job.
And in 2024, this isn't Bill Parcells going to the grocery store anymore like he did in 1989.
Right. I agree. So I like what we're doing, and I'm thankful we didn't go that route, even though I love Mike Vrabel. Yeah. And for me, Cliff Kingsbury's easy on the eyes, so I'm not going to complain about that either.
I didn't think about that.
Yeah, that's good for me. So,
Sam
Laporta
is going to be pretty upset.
He's going to be so devastated. Yeah, don't worry. Well, he's so high now in drafts. I don't know if I can keep my Sam Laporta love. Where's
he going to go? Like TE2?
Yeah, no, like 1. I think he's tight in 1.
He is?
Yeah.
He's ahead of Kelsey this year.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah. Kelsey looked fat and slow. And he still has an elite.
Ahead of Mark Andrews, huh? Wow.
I think so. Okay, so that's Washington. Let's hit next one on the list, Seattle. Mike McDonald, your thoughts. And then we'll go quick hitter through the rest.
Yeah, quick hitter. I mean, not much to say. You talked about it, though, with your GM making a hire for the first time. Kind of a similar situation here with John Schneider, who was working with Pete Carroll. Mm-hmm. But we all know that Pete Carroll probably had the final say. Yeah. And as far as guys that know personnel, it feels like Carroll's a little better than the last 2 that we talked about.
Right.
I thought it was a great hire by John Schneider. You look at what Baltimore's done. When they lost Wink Martindale, I thought they were in trouble.
Really?
Didn't we consider him a top 5 DC?
I mean, yeah.
I did.
Yeah. I don't know.
So you lose a top 5 defensive coordinator, right? Not like you're just assuming the new guy's going to come in. I think the team was statistically better this year under McDonald.
Yeah, he's such a young guy, too.
Yeah, than they were under Wink, who's a guy that I have a lot of respect for. And the team had a bunch of injuries again, too, proving that these guys are developing and they're teaching.
Yeah.
Because when the guy that's just a stud that's going to win off physical attributes goes out, they can get the guy they drafted in the 4th or 5th round, 4th or 5th round talent, 4th or 5th round athleticism, and he does his job. So I think that was a great move by Seattle. I think that the West is tough. The West is tough. You're going against Sean McVay. Mm-hmm. You're going against Kyle Shanahan.
Yep.
And even though I'm a little bit down on Kyler Murray, the ones that I kind of put in that I don't know category, he's the one that I believe could end up being elite. And this is
oh my God, you and I are opposite on everything, Fred. He's the one. If you have that tier, we're not gonna go back to the court. We're staying the coaches, but I have him the lowest out of Dak, Kirk, Kyler, and
he's got the highest ceiling.
Dak, Kirk, Kyler, and Tua. Okay.
He's got the highest ceiling.
I guess. I don't know. I just think the other guys are better all around quarterbacks.
How?
I think the
only thing they could do better maybe is read defenses. Kyler's got a better arm.
I'm so much into
faster.
I guess I am so into like the mental side of the game. Can you read defenses? Are you calling the right checks at the line and audibles and that kind of stuff? And I just
you might be right there.
I worry about that kind of stuff with these guys that are just people adore off physical attributes, which nothing to take away to those physical attributes and gifts, but So, anyways, back to the coaches. So Mike McDonald, you like that hire?
It seems like it's a good hire. Tough situation though. Going in NFC West, AFC West. I mean, the West is stacked.
Yeah.
This is like NBA in the early 2000s. I mean,
agreed. Yeah. Agreed. Okay, so we're totally in line there. All right, next one, Falcons. Raheem Morris, which was widely regarded as a great hire, similar to Quinn, very well liked by the NFL community, coaches, players alike.
Yeah, and he's another one where I think that we're taking that failure as a stint in Tampa Bay and downgrading him. But I'm going to go back to what I said earlier about Quinn and some of these other. He's got a ton of mistakes to learn from.
Yeah,
a ton of mistakes to learn from. And so I'm trying to think. He was the coach right before Arians, right?
Yes.
Which means that he had Jameis.
So. Yeah, I believe so. So again, you're quarterback as a coach. You're tied to that quarterback. You're kind of married, So, so yeah. Anyways, but you only
that's why you don't marry your cousins, Meg.
Oh man, you always have the good puns. You always have the good puns, Fred. Always bringing it. No, I mean, I think this is kind of a wait and see, type. Like, wouldn't be surprised either way with this, but I think definitely people should give it a chance that it could be a good hire because it was widely regarded as such by people that know the NFL a lot better than me. And obviously pay attention, but the NFL insiders, obviously. And, obviously I think he's putting together a good staff over there too. And we'll see. I think it's all going to depend on what quarterback, we talked about Atlanta being the favorites for Cousins or Fields or Russ, whoever, if they do go that route, it will be interesting to see who it lands and it does it work. Cause I think that's going to be ultimately what then makes or breaks.
And here's the thing, McDonald could actually be a better coach and Raheem Morris could have more success.
Because the inverse of what you just said, he is the easiest division.
He's going to the easiest division. Yeah.
Exactly.
I mean, the Saints are washed because they got another year of Carr.
Yeah.
So like I said, they're already screwed. They gave a guy $30 million that doesn't deserve it. And now they're not.
Yeah, and I think their coach sucks. I think he's like a lame duck coach. I think he's gonna be out after this year. What's his name?
Dennis Allen. Dennis Allen. Yeah, we had him too. I don't know why they brought him back. My only thing is that
I thought he was gonna get fired that week.
Here's my thing. Maybe because they knew they were tied to Carr.
Yeah.
Because they can't cut him. There's like,
and then that's weird to hire a coach when
then we'll bring everybody in together.
Yeah.
We'll bring a new coach, quarterback coach combo.
I think that makes sense.
But they got a great OC, didn't they? They got one of the guys that we wanted. Who did they get?
The guy from San Francisco.
Kubiak.
Kubiak, yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Kubiak,
they are obviously.
I don't know why he would go work with
Derek least Carr. Upgraded their offense.
Derek Carr might as well be 41 years old.
They at least upgraded. I'm just saying,
like, if you didn't know their ages, you would think that he's the same age as Aaron Rodgers. Watching them play and the way they move.
Yeah, I'll give you that.
He looks old.
Yeah, it was rough. It was definitely rough.
I feel bad for the Saints.
I do too, but like you said, I think it's kind of like what we were last year with Rivera. You're in that like lame duck situation, right? So, okay. So Falcons, I think Morris was a good hire, but I think it's ultimately going to be tied to whatever quarterback decision they make. Does it work?
Who did they get?
I can't remember the coordinators off the top of my head. I don't have that.
Here, look that up real quick. I'll be right back.
Okay. And then, of course, the next one we will talk about when he returns is the Panthers, who got Dave Canales. I think that was a massive hire when you're trying to build Bryce Young after a very rough rookie season. I have doubts on rookie quarterbacks. But no, I think Canales is known as the quarterback whisperer. He worked with Geno and Russ in Seattle. So, and then he worked with obviously Baker here in Tampa with tons of success. So it'd be interesting to see what he does. So I think he's a great hire. So Falcons coordinators, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to find this quickly, but if, and Steve, if you're still in chat, let me know. Let's see. Zach Robinson is the offensive coordinator and Jimmy Lake is the defensive coordinator and Marquise Williams was special teams. I don't know any of those names. So can you hear me?
Who was the OC
if I'm reading
again?
this correctly, Zach Robinson is the offensive coordinator. Jimmy Lake is the defensive.
Is Zach Robinson coming from the Rams?
Oh, I think he is the Rams. I was like, I don't know any of these names.
He was highly sought after, working with McVay for a couple years.
Okay. And then obviously
Because Morris came from the Rams,
Morris came
right?
from the Rams. Yeah. Okay. So that makes a ton of sense. And then Jimmy Lake defensive. I don't know that name.
I don't know him, but Morris is going to be calling it anyways, right?
Probably.
It's like being the OC for Andy Reid, right? You don't call plays.
Yeah.
Like, for example, whoever the DC is in Seattle, I don't think is going to call plays.
Though Joe Witt Jr. is going to call plays for us. Quinn already said that because Quinn said one of his mistakes was he spread himself too thin. He wants to, he's obviously going to, obviously.
He's probably going to spend 80% of his time in those rooms, though.
Oh, definitely. But he says that Witt Jr. is going to call plays.
That makes sense, though. And I keep bringing up Lombardi, but another thing he talks about, if you're going to be that coach, you better pay attention to what's going on in the field.
Right.
No, he talks about all these great play callers that sit there with their eyes on the sheet the whole time.
Yeah.
And you're not watching what's going on in the game.
And this could be, the not getting the Ben Johnson thing, not to keep circling back to Washington. I swear to God, we're going to keep moving on. But they said that he is kind of known as like the nerd that stays in his office drawing up the plays. And,
and I told you this before.
I use the term nerd lovably, but that could be a problem. Will he be a leader? Washington said they wanted a leader. Will he be a leader of men, a leader of other coaches?
And I read that he had those doubts about himself.
Yeah. Well, if you're not quite 36. Ready to step in front of, a bunch of grown men and young men and lead them, then that's a problem. So you definitely need to be ready. So I think maybe it wasn't the right timing for him to be a head coach clearly on his end at all.
Well, yeah, we talked about stuff. I mean, the way he treated the organization already showed you he wasn't ready.
That's pretty
This is basic stuff.
Yeah. Yes, definitely. Yeah. Steve looked up. He was the passing game coordinator, quarterbacks coach.
The point is he worked with McVay for the last 3 years, and those are the most innovative guys. And one thing I love about this McVay tree and the Shanahan tree, they run the ball.
Yeah.
I remember all these EPAs. Well, you get 6 yards per attempt on a pass and 3 yards per run. Why don't you pass every time? Well, why don't you tell the opposing defense what you're going to do?
Right. Exactly.
It's not just EPA.
Sometimes it is good to establish it.
Bieniemy.
Yeah.
Your guy. Did you read this?
No. But I mean, I know how our pass to run ratio was obviously our pass rate was the highest in the league, I believe.
And your offensive lineman came out and said, I don't want to play for this guy.
Right. Exactly.
He's got me going back every time. He's got my ass kicked every time. Right. He never lets me go forward. I have to go back every single play, and they know what's coming.
Right.
We don't have Patrick Mahomes back there.
Right.
It's easy to call runs when you have a super mobile quarterback that's going to make things happen. Right. And can do these things. Yeah. For a young quarterback, that was the worst idea. Oh, yeah. It did not work. You need to run. That's why it will be interesting. God love Sam Howell. Maybe he will be one of those, we talked about quarterbacks and quarterbacks drafted high, quarterbacks, obviously free agent trades, all this stuff. Sometimes these kind of second births for quarterbacks, like a Tannehill had, I wouldn't be surprised if Darnold, who couldn't even catch on a team. Who? Jake Browning. Remember how high I was on him? Oh yeah. Well, we'll see. I mean, it took him 5 years to figure it out. Right, but I'm saying guys that actually then had success as a starter took a team to the playoffs. Like I just wouldn't be surprised if Browning had success in the starter the next. Really? That's what I'm thinking about. Yeah, I mean, thought he looked pretty good, didn't you? I thought he looked pretty good. Like I don't know that I was like, oh, I signed me up for him. To me, I'd put him in the same bucket as like Jared Stidham. Like, oh yeah, he could have some good games, but like, do I trust him that I think he's better than Stidham. You think he's better than Stidham? Okay. Yeah. I think he's better than Pickett. I think he would be in the 15 to 20 range if he got a starting job this year. Really? I don't know that I'd have him that. He'd be ahead of like the Zach Wilsons, the Pickett's, the O'Connells. Everybody's ahead of Zach Wilson. Yeah, I know. It's interesting to see where we put him. Well, he's not a starter. I mean, he's, Aaron Rodgers will be the starter. He's a full-blown back. I'm talking about for next year, obviously. I know. Coming back off these injuries isn't easy at that age. I know, but I mean, he's claimed he was ready to come back during the year. So he's claimed a lot of things. He also claimed that sitting in the dark on ayahuasca or whatever made him spiritually evolved, right? I mean, sorry, Meg, I got my lights on.
Okay, so back to the coaches. You and I could talk about quarterbacks probably for
I
like
know this
24
show could be like
which is
5 hours.
why you haven't watched the quarterback Netflix series. We could play a drinking game with this. You have got it's fascinating, Spread. It's fascinating. You have to watch it.
It's WrestleMania season, Meg. I got to find out if Cody's going to finish his story.
Oh my God. Okay. Well, whenever you get a lull in time,
I will. I got it coming up too. Yeah, because with no NBA. With no NBA, I got a lot of time coming up.
Okay, because I know
I was actually going to bet college basketball, and then I said, no, what was I thinking?
I know you love this geeking out on this quarterback stuff, so you're going to love it. So I'm just trying to help you out here. Okay, I talked about Dave Canales while you stepped away. Perfect hire for them. He's the quarterback whisperer. They need to whisper to Bryce Young. What did you think?
I can't complain. Canales, I pretty much learned about him when Jamie came on the show.
Oh, really?
I didn't make all those connections that he was there with Russ for those good seasons.
Yeah.
And then he went
Gino.
to Tampa. Yeah.
Gino and then Baker. Yeah.
So
perfect hire for them.
Yeah. The whole thing about that organization is just going to be the ownership.
I was going to say, do they have the new worst owner in the NFL?
I say, is this Dan Snyder 2.0? Now, hopefully we're taking out the sexual assault and all the terrible allegations behind the scene. But let's just talk about it from a football perspective.
He sounds pretty like
There's a good
wasn't
chance.
Didn't he like beer people at a game or something?
Yeah, doesn't it feel like Dan Snyder though? Where
the guy it definitely feels
like
money. Yeah,
well, and it's funny. I was talking to my mom about
money, power, and doesn't manage people right at all.
Yeah, so my mom was rooting for the 49ers real bad, right?
Your mom's a 49ers fan? Is that what you said?
I don't know if she's but obviously we're the Sacramento. Everyone around us is 49ers fans, right?
Yeah.
So she was rooting for him.
Yeah.
And I said, professional sports is so weird, right? Let's say, Meg, you and I started a company right now, right? And at the end of the year, next year, we were the second best company in our field.
Yeah.
We'd be having a party.
All the champagne. I'd be drinking
We'd be
BP.
doing tours about how we did it. This great success that we've had. And now in football, you get told that you're an idiot, you're a choker, you don't know anything.
I know. Only one team is not going to get criticized. Yeah.
Exactly. It's just unbelievable what we do to these sports teams.
You're totally right, and that's why the week after the Super Bowl, I'm like, enough. It's like you said, only one team does it perfectly, and even that team.
And in the NFL, it's the most random. I mean, at least in baseball, like you got to beat them 4 out of 7 times.
Exactly.
Right?
There's a 7-game series. One fumble or I was looking back at Super Bowl history, and I was looking back at Brady's history, because some of the whole like Brady versus Mahomes stuff, I'm like, let Mahomes play a full career before we go naming and comparing and all this stuff. My God, but I was looking back at Brady's Super Bowl history. That is just wild that the 2 times, he got beaten by 3 NFC. He got his 3 losses for the NFC East teams: Eagles, Nick Foles, and then Eli Manning twice, once the undefeated season. Just wild. But then I thought about it. It's like 1-game sample size. Anything can happen, So just crazy. Okay. So I think Canales is an awesome hire. Chargers, this is an easy one. Sucks for you, Jim Harbaugh.
Every year the Chargers have so much offseason hype.
Oh, every year. I know.
This year,
and I get sucked into it every year for best ball. And
I never do. This year it's going to be warranted. Every year I laugh. Like my biggest bet of the offseason last year was Los Angeles Chargers under 9.5.
Oh, okay. That was a big one.
They got a terrible coach. They got an unbalanced roster that's top heavy with a bunch of big names. But then you look at their full 11 defensive starters, and like 5 of them are below average.
Right.
And they have 3 elite guys that are injury prone. Right. Yeah. There's just so many things. But I talked about it earlier. Coaching is not just dialing up plays, it's player development and having these average athletes on an NFL scale, because they go to the gym, we'd be like, damn, but these average NFL level athletes, making them into contributors, and that's exactly what Jim Harbaugh is going to do.
Yeah.
This Chiefs team, I don't think is. I know you really like their defense. I wonder how much of that defensive prowess is just from the fact that they quit calling penalties in the playoffs, right?
No, I mean, but I mean, they all season long they were, and Spagnuolo.
No,
give credit to Steve Spagnuolo. That he isn't just an elite. I mean, he's got to be.
But I'm just saying this as a Raiders fan or an AFC West fan, this doesn't feel like an unbeatable dynasty.
Oh, I don't think so. No, I don't think so. It'll be interesting
Kelsey's
to see.
getting older. Chris Jones is getting older.
Yep.
Will they be able to afford Snead? They couldn't afford Tyreek Hill.
Right.
I think Harbaugh's in a great position to go and snatch this division this year.
Yeah, Chris Jones and Snead, I think I've already said they're coming back. So obviously they're going to find.
I saw Snead today saying, "Pay me."
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, he said, It's about money."
Oh, okay. Interesting. Well,
yeah.
If we don't go the Cousins route, then we can just throw that chunk of change right at him because he's insane.
You know, it's so crazy though. Those big name corners never seem to work.
I know.
They're so
I know.
system
We've been on
dependent, and getting a coach that understands how to hide their weaknesses. And let's go
And
back to the Chargers. J.C. Jackson.
Yeah. Yeah.
How awesome did he look under Belichick? Oh, why? Because Belichick only put him in a position where he was showing his strengths.
Yeah. Yeah. You know? And again, just like marrying a quarterback and coordinator, what that defensive coordinator, is he going to get the best out of you like you did with your prior team? And that's the thing. I'm not trying to get back to the Cousins debate, even though you and I could talk about it literally all day long. Oh, Tyler's joining us. Is that just like the quarterback is the riskiest to draft early, to me, I think the cornerback, like you said, could be the riskier. We need help on the back end too. So I'd almost rather handle that in the draft. Tyler, have you been watching us and been like, these two crazy people are talking for an hour and a half?
I got stuck at work late. That's why I didn't make the show. I got stuck an extra 4 hours. I had to work at 16 last night.
Oh my God.
I just got out of the shower and I caught the spread talking about Harbaugh stealing the division.
You're like, I got to get on.
Come on, man. God's still in the division. His name's Patrick Mahomes. Just threw to me and you.
You're receiving. You're making him sneeze.
And now they're going to draft 2 receivers out of one of the most stacked wide receiver draft classes in a while.
I mean, this is the most stacked wide receiver draft class in a while. This wide receiver draft class is ridiculous. I mean, that much I know from Steve already.
Is he the greatest of all time if he three-peats?
No, I'm not having these greatest of all time. I said I cannot have these greatest of all time through the three-peat stuff until he plays a whole career. This is my thought on the Brady Mahomes stuff, which I've just is not nauseating to me now. And that's why I looked up some Brady stuff. Is let the man Mahomes play a whole career, and then we'll see who's the greatest of the whole GOAT thing later in the career. Get through about how many more years would he have to play? 12 or 14 more years. Go through multiple injuries. Go through multiple other supporting casts. Go through another coach that Brady did it with. If you can do all those things and still get 4 more beautiful hardware on your fingers, then we can talk about it. Is he the greatest of these 6 years? Absolutely. Is he the greatest of all time yet? No. You need to do the longevity of what Mahomes or Brady did. That's my thing. That's my thoughts.
I can agree with the longevity, but I feel like if he wins it next year, just what we've seen from what would be the end of next year back to when he started playing football, when he took over for Alex Smith, that's the best quarterback ever. That's the best span. He's played in every championship game, AFC championship or the Super Bowl.
Brady had a run like that of 4 out of 5 straight Super Bowls.
The three-peat would just put him that little bit higher.
That would put him
be the best man.
Yeah, I actually don't think they're going to three-peat either. First of all, it's just so hard to do. Second of all, I mean, we talked about that at the beginning of the show. Just no matter what, you do need things to go your way as far as injury and health luck and variance, including they got a lot of variance breaking their way in the Super Bowl, the whole entire season, the postseason, the Super Bowl. And I'm not taking any away from Mahomes, what he did in the second half, but yeah, I don't know. I personally don't think they'll three-peat, but I don't know that I agree with spread that they're going to win the Chargers will win the division. I probably would not, if we were talking AFC West futures today, I probably would not put a bet on it.
I think the Chargers do improve. I think he can get to 10 wins, but I think in the end, it's going to be, the Chiefs are just the Patriots now. It's maybe Miami will win the division one year, and they never do.
They never did. Yeah. I'm a dynasty hater. So I also have a lot of dynasty anger. I hated the era of the Patriots, whereas every year, like you said, same thing. Well, maybe Dolphins will win it this year. Nope. It was Patriots every year. And it was basically, does he make it to the divisional, the conference, or the Super Bowl? It's going to be one of the three. And yeah, we're seeing that bear out so far. And probably for a lot longer could see that bear out. So yeah, we'll see. But again, as long as that, health will be a big thing for him and his supporting cast and all that. But that, I was saying, that defense that he now has around him certainly helps. So any other thoughts of what you heard, Tyler, that you want to interject on? You didn't hear all of it. What do you? So we talked a lot. We talked quick Super Bowl recap. We talked massive Kirk Cousins debate. We talked quarterback carousel. We talked coaching changes. Quarterback carousel, I'll ask you because this affects you because we've now gone on for an hour and a half. Who do you? Did he not like my Mahomes?
He knew what the two options were.
Does he not?
He said, if my two options are Russell Wilson or Justin Fields, I'm not doing this.
Wait, was this all about Kirk Cousins? I wasn't going to say Kirk Cousins. I was going to say Russell Wilson or Justin Fields. Come back.
Yeah.
Come back.
Oh, man.
Okay, it's loading. Let's see.
Try it again.
Let's see if he'll come back and answer my question. Okay, were you afraid I was going to ask if Kirk Cousins is your quarterback?
No, I couldn't hear anything. My computer literally froze up. Like, your face was frozen, spread was frozen. I couldn't hear anything. So I was like, seeing if I can click on anything. I just exit out of the tab.
Okay, we were dying laughing because I was setting up like what we talked about, but I was going to specifically ask you a question because we covered all these things about quarterbacks and coaches.
And Steelers.
But specifically, the Steelers are a hot name right now because they are attached to Justin Fields, Russell Wilson, and I know you'll hate this, and I want this, and I'll be very mad if you or Spread get this, and I don't, and
I don't see why you'd be so mad about this.
Because I want Kirk Cousins.
Oh, I'm so jealous of your 2012 Honda Civic. Oh, I can't believe you have such a reliable car.
We debated it.
Right, it's got a cracked engine block too.
Yeah.
We debated about
I just rebuilt the engine.
Spread. We debated about it for 40 minutes. You know where I stand.
The transmission went on it last year, but it's got 200,000 miles on it. Spread. It'll be all right.
I love that 200,000 mile Honda Civic. Anyways, I have the NFL betting odds pulled up for the Steelers. And Cousins is there were some rumors today, but whatever. Steelers are plus 800 for Cousins. They are minus 125 for Justin Fields and plus 100 for Russell Wilson. Of those three, which do you think is most likely for the Steelers? Because it does sound like they could go that veteran route, which makes sense because they have all the other pieces. Good coach, great team, great elite defense. So which one do you think would happen and which do you want to happen?
I want Fields.
That's what I thought.
I think Russ happens. I don't think there's a chance we spend the Kirk Cousins money.
Yeah.
I don't think we'd go out in the free agency and just drop a bag of money on a quarterback. Like, that's just not the Steeler route. Like, when they took Haskins from Washington, they took him as the quarterback that was kind of thrown out. We're going to bring him in. He's going to do his thing and go from there. He had the chip on his shoulder leaving there. That's Russ leaving Denver right now. He's the vet. They got kicked out that no one wanted. Pittsburgh brings him in. He gets his little redemption story there. I think that's where we get. But we'll probably end up with – I could see our quarterback room ending up because of the Arthur Smith hire. It'll be Kenny Pickett, Ryan Tannehill, and it'll be a day 3 draft pick of like Spencer Rattler or somebody.
Disgusting.
He loves Spencer Rattler. He was talking Spencer Rattler.
I like Spencer Rattler, but that's not a good plan, Tyler.
No, it's not a good plan at all. Like, of the 3 quarterbacks in there, I think I'd like him the best out of those 3. But like, I don't want those 3 as my quarterbacks because those 3 quarterbacks are never beating any of the elite quarterbacks in the AFC. Like, if Pittsburgh doesn't get a quarterback, they ain't winning anything for the next 12 years because you're never going to dodge the likes of Joe Burrow, Josh Allen.
Yeah,
Patrick
you got a hell of a division yourself.
Trevor Lawrence is going to get there eventually. CJ Stroud's there now. Who knows what Anthony Richardson's going to look like? Like, there's just so many guys you got to get there in the AFC to get to the Super Bowl.
Well, so do you want – so we said that we actually think Russ would be the best fit for you guys because you could drop him in. He could system manage, be like a manager. He had a very good touchdown interception ratio last year. Statistically not impressive, but like good touchdown interception game manager type role. That's kind of what you need with a defense like that. I think you could win with a situation like that.
Yeah, I think we could win. We can win games to get to the playoffs, but I don't think we like make any noise in the playoffs. Like,
I think you make more noise than you made the last couple of years in the playoffs.
I don't think much more though. Like, I don't think Russ would ever beat the likes of those quarterbacks in the playoffs.
But
Because
you think Justin Fields could.
Regardless of how good our defense is, like we're just never gonna get into that matchup. Like Patrick Mahomes will always beat our defense, regardless of how good it is. I don't care if it's historically good. He's going to beat it in the playoffs. Then Russ has to beat their defense. That's where the game's lost. It's what happened in the Super Bowl. Like, it's just what happens. But with Fields, there's the whole unknown still of he's young. They could mold him into the guy they want. He could become one of these elite quarterbacks. He was ranked as high as them coming out of high school. He showed it in college. He was decent there. I know he had great receivers, so it was like throwing to wide open guys every time. But he threw the ball a lot better in college than he does in the pros. He's had to run a lot more. I think he's still fixable.
Okay. All right. Well, you are, again, I believe the highest.
And that's coming from
minus 125.
Justin Fields last year.
You are the favorite for Justin Fields per Vegas. So that's good news for you.
And Sprite could attest to that. I hated Justin Fields last year.
Oh, yeah. I didn't love Justin.
Yeah, I don't see why you're so high on him, Tyler.
I just think he's of the quarterbacks that we're like grouped in to get, I think he's the best one.
I think Russ is better.
I think Russ is just the older version of that.
You can just run a real offense. I just don't see Fields getting through his progressions. I guess one of the big problems Getsy had with Fields and why they are saying that there's no way that since we hired Getsy, we're getting Fields, is that he couldn't get him through his progressions.
That's a problem.
He couldn't run
that scares the shit out of me with young people.
And you know what's so funny? LaFleur actually had that issue with Rodgers.
How hard is Arthur Smith's scheme's going to be to really get through your progressions? Like, just think back to what Tannehill did with Derrick Henry. It was either handed off or it was play action across the middle or a deep ball.
AJ Brown,
yeah. So it's like that'll be George Pickens.
Pickens could be your AJ Brown, yeah.
So George Pickens is AJ Brown, and DJ is coming across the middle. Patrick Freiermuth's the tight end. He doesn't really have all that many progressions to go through in that kind of offense. They're going to run the hell out of the ball, too.
They're going to run the hell out of the ball, yeah. I need to draft some Najee this year.
So I didn't want people to think, let me say this real quick. I don't want people to think that I was saying Rodgers couldn't go through his progressions, but LaFleur's issue with Rodgers was he would just change the plays.
Oh,
so they were never doing what he wanted to do.
Oh, gotcha.
Rodgers would just keep audibly to Devontae slant. Like, you drew up this plot for a young guy? No, audible.
Did you guys go through Super Bowl odds for next year?
No, I think we should end on that because we have literally. Well, first of all, I do need to do a show with Steve before and get it done before 6:00. Second of all,
dang it, I have one question for you.
Second of all, we've been going for an hour and 40 minutes, but it's been so fun because we have covered so much of coaching changes. Spread and I fighting about Kirk Cousins, free agency stuff, quarterback carousel. This has been fun. We need to end it on Super Bowl, and then we will do more of this stuff where we continue to look at fun futures, where we continue to talk about off-season moves, what the trickle-down effects are for futures, for best ball, which, again, stay tuned to our best ball shows. So what were you going to say, Spread? And then I'll pull up the Super Bowl odds.
I had a question, but we'll save it for one of our next shows. It was about one of the coaching hires. Was there one that I missed? I swear we missed one.
Oh, yes, we did. Okay, hold on. Let me see. I went down to, yes, we did not do, well, yours. So the two that we missed three. Jared Mayo to the Patriots. I mean, that, like you said, that feels like kind of lame duck situation, or like you'd rather be the one after not after Belichick, but after Belichick. So I kind of feel bad for this situation because I don't think.
Let me talk about that one real quick.
Okay.
Here's some advantages he's having coming in. He's going to run the same exact system.
That's true.
He played and coached under Bill for the last 20 years.
Yeah.
So there is going to be a modicum of continuity there. Mm-hmm. While the voice, you're running the same scheme with a different voice. With a younger voice that's going to understand what the F you're talking about, right? And not like a 70-year-old, right? That's just like watching tape on his VHS and stuff. If they don't get the expectations too high for Mayo, I think he's going to be successful.
Okay, but, so be patient with him. And, of course, be patient with him if they have to draft a rookie quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, talk about spoiled fan base, Meg.
Oh, the most.
Right, the expectations are going to be ridiculous. And, like, what's their quarterback situation?
They're number 3.
We talked about issues with Jaden Daniels. I don't know if I would take Jaden Daniels at 3. Is he?
I wouldn't, but everybody's obsessed with them, so I think they will. Unless
doesn't it seem like, barring injury, Marvin Harrison's like can't miss?
Yeah.
And isn't there some guy named Joe Alt who's just like
the stud offensive yeah, that's why I wish.
It seems like Washington, you have some can't miss guys at number 3.
Yeah. Yeah, no, there does seem like some can't miss guys.
Yeah, so I think if Mayo doesn't work out, it's going to be because the fan base and the front office
aren't patient,
and they're not realistic about where they are as a team.
Yeah. Oh God, they have a lot of rebuilding to do. Okay, quick hitters, and then let's go through Super Bowl because I do need to go in 5.
Okay.
Tennessee Titans on to Brian Callahan. I think that's a good move.
So is that Bill Callahan's son?
Yeah, he brought Bill the Browns let Bill Callahan go work for him. Bill Callahan's going to work for his son as the offensive or the line coach. Yeah.
And I heard he's one of the best line coaches in the NFL.
Oh yeah. Yeah, he used to be a line coach for Washington. He's amazing. Yeah, and obviously he was amazing with the Browns. I mean, their offensive line has been elite under him. So yeah, quarterback guys. So I think good fit with Will Levis. So I think that's a good fit.
Yeah, and it takes them out of the quarterback deal. Yeah, I'll be interested. Same thing. I just worry Tennessee's expectations are going to be too high.
And the last one is your Vegas Raiders, which we know, Spread, that you are happy with the man from Compton, himself, Antonio Pierce.
Yeah, I think it's fantastic. My concern is that we're 2 or 3 years out and that they're going to expect results right away. I mean, just look at where the Chiefs and the Chargers are at.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to have to develop a quarterback. We got to really be patient and know this is going to be a 2 to 3 year plan. And I know It sucks because we've been rebuilding for 20 years.
Yeah.
But that's the way it goes. So I hope that if he gets off to a slow start, that the fan base doesn't turn on him.
Yeah. Well, again, I mean, all these quarterbacks is going to depend on which kind of QB gets married up with them too, So I think that'll be interesting to see what path the Raiders take, and we will find that out soon too. But let's end this show with Super Bowl odds. Great call, Tyler. Looking at the odds, the shortest on the board, of course, are 49ers plus 550, Chiefs running it back for the 3-peat plus 650, Ravens plus 900, Bills plus 1,000, and then, of course, you have longer odds from there. Do you want to talk? Obviously, do you just have interest in the shorter odd ones, or there are some long shots you like, Tyler?
I think it's interesting how spread out the NFC teams are through this list. You got Niners at 5-1. Then you don't touch another team until Detroit at 12, Dallas at 15, Philly at 17, Green Bay at 23. And let's be completely honest, everybody behind that's dead. The Rams ain't got a shot.
They had a shot with Stafford, I think. I think
this was his last year really going for it. I don't think he's got another year in him.
He does.
The defense played above expectations. They lost the defensive coordinator. I don't think they put it together again. Like Tampa Bay, no. Seattle, no. New Orleans, no. So there's about 4 teams in the NFC that can make it. And a couple of those teams have a history and a reputation for folding in the playoffs. So San Fran looks like they could walk back to the Super Bowl and sleepwalk there if they just stay healthy. So, but on the other side, I mean,
hold on. Can I tell you mine out of that one?
Yeah.
Because me and Meg, we got to continue to be opposite.
Oh, we've been opposite today.
Give me 17-1 on Philly.
Oh,
they're going to be so much better with Vic Fangio. They're going to be so good. I didn't think that Miami defense, like talent-wise, was anything special. Like obviously they had a bunch of good players, but every team does. And he made them look elite. I think he's going to do the very same thing in Philadelphia. I like the Eagles.
I mean that was
at 17-1 at the prices, right? You give me the same money, I'll take the Niners, right? But 17-1, I could start hedging so early.
And then as for the other side, Meg, I mean, I'm going to go ahead and cross off Baltimore already.
Why?
They're going to fold at some point. I just don't think he has the style to win Super Bowls. Like this was his year, and he folded in the end. Let's go ahead and cross Buffalo off. We know they're going to do. We know they're going to do something stupid, not make it in the end.
Oh my gosh!
Spread will be fine.
I think they're the
fine with this one, Meg. Let's go ahead and cross Miami off.
Of course.
Oh yeah, he and I just fought about that. He and I had a fight about that.
Would you bet on Miami?
The AFC, you just bet on the best quarterbacks. You bet on Patrick Mahomes. You bet on Joe Burrow. You bet on CJ Stroud, and you let those 3 teams. One of those 3 teams probably walks to the Super Bowl.
What about a long shot or longer shot with an elite quarterback and now the elite coach? And this will make spread barf with the Chargers. I'm getting you back for the Eagles.
I don't hate that. 20.
I'm on DK. It's 25-1 on DK.
One more year, Meg. One more year. 1 year too early. They have no cap space. They get $100 million in cap space next year.
Oh, okay, gotcha. I mean, Packers 20-1 from the NFC. I think is a good look.
I'm going to be down on the Packers this year.
Well, it's a good thing Jamie had internet issues and couldn't join you to rip you back on that one.
I was hoping he would. I came here ready to fight today, Meg.
You did. I came ready to fight back. I did.
Yeah.
I'm trying to stick up for Jamie's team. Oh, then next show we'll have to talk further about these again, revisit again, and you can tell why you were down on the young Packers team, a very young team.
Meg, you brought up that 30-1 on the Chargers.
Mm-hmm.
I'd much rather just take the 30-1 on the Jets.
I like that too, and spread fought me on that too. I love it. I love the Jets.
You're betting on people my age? Like, come on, guys.
Yeah, I am.
It's not just that. It's the fact that I watched the best defense in the league drag Peyton Manning to a Super Bowl when he was your age.
Exactly.
The Jets defense can't drag Aaron Rodgers to a Super Bowl at your age.
He's only 2 years removed. He's only 2 years removed from.
And he can still throw the ball. Peyton Manning couldn't even throw the ball that year. Denver's defense drug him to the Super Bowl.
He had come off neck surgery.
It could definitely happen.
He's only 2 years removed from
great running back too.
Oh my God, Breece Hall and Garrett Wilson are so elite. I cannot wait to see them if we could get a full year with Rodgers. So I'm with you on this on the Jets. The Jets might be my favorite long shot.
Have fun with that.
The only
so who's your favorite? So who's your favorite long shot? The Eagles spread. Let's each go around for a favorite.
That's not even a long shot, Meg.
It's 17-1.
I was gonna say over
like the top 6 teams.
Okay, I was gonna say go over 15-1. Who do you like? Because obviously everybody like above, so over 15-1. Who your favorite is the Eagles at 17-1 spread?
The Eagles. What are the Bengals at?
Oh, they're
15.
On my book 13. Yeah.
They're interesting, right?
Yeah.
There's one team that interests me at like 50-1.
What? Washington? Just kidding.
So much.
Why? I do love that.
AR shows up and just
like,
annihilates the league, and it's like, oh, this is
the like guy has made it through like 20% of his games that he started.
He's played 1 year.
He played 4 games and he got knocked out of 3 of them.
I was gonna say he literally got knocked out of like 3 of the 4 games he played.
Yeah, I would. You have fun with the Colts and the Jets, bro.
You better always have a good backup quarterback with a guy like who runs like that. That's what I'll say. And in best ball, you better if you draft him, which I will this year. I did last year.
And I totally was so down on him, Meg. And the first 4 weeks, I'm like, I'm so stupid. I don't think I drafted him like once.
I didn't
like
say
100 something teams. I had like less than 1%.
I didn't think I was stupid because I knew the guys he was around could but I was like, oh shit, he could have a bunch of spike weeks. But then I was watching the injury and I was like, no way he plays 17 games. No way he plays 10 games. And sure enough, poor thing, only played 4 games. So, hopefully he protects himself better. But I'll tell you what, there would never be a best ball team. Many of my best ball teams have 3 quarterbacks. I would always, that would be absolutely mandatory with Anthony Richardson. I actually don't think that's insane, Tyler. I actually don't.
They have the Philly offensive coordinator designing the plays for him. He stays healthy. That could be a bitch to beat that team.
That coach is good. That Steichen is good.
They better get home field because they ain't going to win no games outdoors in the playoffs.
My whole thing with Philly last year was losing the coordinators. He's a little offensive genius. I think that's a good look. And to your point, now they are fixing their coordinator issues, so you like them. My favorite is the Jets at 25-1, probably. I know you can't believe it. Look, we just talked about Breece Hall, Garrett Wilson, Aaron Rodgers.
It's great for fantasy. We're talking about winning in the NFL.
Exactly. You have that and Sauce Gardner and damn good defense on the other side. So, all right, I do need to run. We are going to continue this off-season conversations. Yeah. we went about almost 2 hours. We could probably do that each and every week, but no, we won't be here next Thursday. I've got something, but we will get on the books soon for another off-season edition. We'll mix in Steve. We'll mix in free agency talk. Obviously, once these quarterbacks land, and then more, free agency and draft talk in the coming months. But be sure to check out On the Clock Mock Draft Simulator. Check out Ultimate GM. Use it for the simulating the free agency. Also, check out our best ball series, which it'll be up by tomorrow, where we're doing a series on the rookies, and best ball articles will start this weekend too. So it's all starting to crank out here, ramping up during this off season. Thank you guys so much for joining us, and we will see you next time.